Hello, everyone. It is Monday, June 12th. Welcome to American Micro Podcast with Anthony Pago.
Yep. Hi.
And my name is Rodney Hubbard. And go ahead, Anthony. Where are you from and what's your deal?
Yeah, Oklahoma City. I am still an artist. We're talking
Yeah.
today about writing or writers or whatever, and I've done a little bit of that in different aspects. You know, writing can mean multiple like fields. But I know you obviously through our band that we talked about in the past, our old band, Zero Brain from back in the 2000s. And I wrote a lot of like lyrics for that and wrote a lot of songs with you. You helped me hash out a lot of stuff. And then I've done some kind of like they say if you write stuff as far as like being a type, a writer,
Hmm.
they say if you write stuff at all, even without being published, you're a writer. And if that's true, then I'm a writer and have been for a long time, but I've never been published. Uh, yeah, artist, writer. What about you? What's your experience in the field?
Yeah. I, I would think that I'm a writer, lyricist. I've been, yeah, you and I wrote a lot of music together back in the mid 2000s, in the early uh, part of the century,
Yeah,
um, as centuries go. And no, I've been, I've been writing, man, I've been writing music forever. Like, um, it's really wild because, when you think of like the the pop tune or the rock tune or the jazz tune or that type of music as opposed to um, classical Tchaikovsky, Beethoven, Mendelssohn, or Mozart. It's the American songwriter, man, the great American songwriter, which there are many, 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 many. You know, but as writing goes, I mean, for me, it's been, I think, a situation where I've been fortunate enough to have grown up in a family where I was put in a position to really listen to great American music. Like my dad was he's from Mansfield, Louisiana. My mom's from Tennehaw, Texas, and they grew up with country and well, they grew up with my dad grew up with a lot of jazz and country music. My mom grew up with more gospel, the quote unquote great Negro spiritual or the Negro spiritual, and so I was given the ability to really hone in on some really key aspects of just melody and harmony and things like that. You know, um, it's crazy, man. It's
yeah.
crazy, but it was cool. And I'm sure you did too, growing up in like Oklahoma and New Orleans and that part of the country.
Um, I don't think that I was exposed to much music writing in Oklahoma. It was when I went down to Austin, Texas, that I really ran
Wow.
into a lot of singer-songwriters and picked up instruments myself. And then, yeah, obviously New Orleans like blew my mind with the writing and watching people write like on the fly, the jazz especially. Um, God, just incredible. But yeah, Austin, Texas was a really big part of opening up that part of my brain. Everybody was a singer songwriter, and I mean everybody. And so you had to get to know kind of the because it's Texas, you had to get to know the folk artists, the greats like Dylan, just like straight out of the bat. Straight out of the bat, is that the straight? Yeah,
Straight off
you
the
know,
bat.
yeah, straight out the bat or out of the gate.
Yeah, straight out of the gate. Yeah, yeah.
Um, And so, yeah, I had to kind of learn what I liked as far as writing. I was gonna say good writing, but I guess writing is subjective, right? Like
Yeah.
you can like something that other people don't like, and vice versa easily. But yeah, I definitely I enjoyed kind of folk music and the country music and stuff and the blues, a lot of blues down there, especially in Austin with Stevie Ray Vaughan and all that. So it was just a logical jump to go over to New Orleans, and then jazz really blew my mind. Just learning that there was people like all all composing at the same time on the fly just really broke my brain. I mean, not literally broke it, but like it was just amazing. It was profound. It was such a great and enjoyable revelation to understand that everybody was, just writing their own song in their head, but using cues from each other and writing this song together, like weaving one song out of everybody kind of just on the fly writing in their brain. Um, and then I guess meeting you was probably the best experience I had with having a co-author. Is that what you would say in like music? A writing partner?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was easier with you because well, for a lot of reasons, but I think you're a great musician, but you're also um, you're a good teacher when there's gaps that I don't have. Like it was just easy for you to just kind of show me what I'm trying to say to you. Like I'd be like, okay, so I'd show you a melody or I'd sing you a melody or like whatever, or I'd try to find it on a guitar, and then you would pluck it out, and you were patient, and you'd always figure it out. So it just made it effortless to continue moving on pretty fast. So it was never frustrating. That made writing easy, and I've had some pretty awful experiences with other people who didn't have patience and didn't know how to explain things very well. And a lot of them weren't nearly as creative as you are. Your brain is just always turned on. It's always ready to write. So that's a huge bonus.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. Because like when I was writing with the guys in well, actually it was just Tim and I in on most of the songs in the Bankhead Press. Tim and I would write those. I wrote all the lyrics. I wrote all the lyrics, and I mean we wrote a lot of songs. And writing is like it's one of the I believe it's like one of the most supernatural things that a person can do is emote one's feelings over a page on a piece of paper, and then take those words and put those words into melody and then into like verse chorus, um, bridge, verse, chorus, you know, outro, like, and then do it well. I mean, dude, yeah, it's crazy how they're so like I've heard. Oh, what was her name? Oh God, she's a young lady from San Diego, Avalon Young, I think her name was,
Okay.
and she was she was just amazing. She could, even though it was someone else's music, sometimes she could take a song and make it her own, like it was nobody. I mean, she just had this. She has this. She was like she came in like fourth in American Idol.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, she was crazy good, man. Like when she did her and chemo, like my uh I played with him for a long time, but they would go out on the boardwalk in San Diego and just make bank. I mean, I saw her at what was that one it was that one joint that was right next to the coffee shop. Oh God, what was it? It was right off. Oh, I can't even like I'm drawing blanks on all this stuff. But it was she would play at this place in San Diego, and I'd see her there all the time. And it was. I mean, it was amazing. Like a lot of the uh, got Gabby. I can't remember Gabby's last name, but Gabby, another amazing, just amazing writer, dude. I mean, she was and could sing. Both these girls could just sing. It's just like, whoa, like I want to be like them. And then they're like, and that's the thing about being out here, dude. Being out in Maryland, it's like, and I know it's, like one of the guys yesterday said, I'd rather be a big fish in a small pond. But I'm like, when you're surrounded by that much talent, it just makes your life so much better. Like,
Yep.
really, I mean, how much talent were we surrounded by in San Diego?
Yeah, I mean, just all those cities I listed, not Oklahoma City so much, but I mean, there's a lot of really great art here and musicians and stuff, but it's so big that you never run into them. But Austin, New Orleans, and San Diego, all just everywhere you went, like every group you
Everywhere.
met, yeah, there was no avoiding running into great musicians. And I don't like Austin, there's kind of the trope or the joke that like every house has a guitar in the corner and everybody's a musician, and it kind of there's the tongue-in-cheek like suggestion that like most of them aren't good, they're like it's filled with hacks or something like
Yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah.
or they're not interesting, but it's not true. They're all different styles and different timbres in their voices, and different types of writing, and just a different background and story where they all came from. It's all different. And so San Diego surprised me. I thought that San Diego would be a little more, and it is to a point, a little more kind of like outdoorsy, health oriented.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the music scene is just as healthy there as like New Orleans or Austin. So I was very happy and surprised by that. Yeah.
Yeah, it blew my mind, man. I mean, I remember distinctly, like we played at this place in Big Sur, at this huge festival, and the band consisted of myself on vocals, Mike Press on drums, Jake Bankhead on bass. Tim was the keyboard player. Um, oh God, I can't believe I'm forgetting the guitar player's name. But anyways, killer guitar player, and Aaron was the percussionist. So it was a 6-piece band, and we got up on stage and we killed it, you know. And after we did our set, someone came up to me and they're like, "Where are you guys from? Like New York, Houston, Miami?" I'm like, "Nah, dude, we're from San Diego." They're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, we're from San Diego." They're like, but I'm like, "We're from all over. We all met in San Diego." They're like, "San Diego has that kind of music scene?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah."
Yeah, there was a jazz club that was downstairs in San Diego. I mean, I'm really hard pressed to remember exactly where, but I think it was in the Gaslamp
Uh
district.
huh.
It looked like it was in New Orleans. It sounded like the people. I could swear up and down it was New Orleans the second you went down the stairs and into that club. There weren't as many jazz clubs in San Diego as there were in New Orleans,
Of
obviously,
course, yeah,
but the talent there was no less. It was amazing. So yeah,
yeah,
San Diego's got it for sure.
yeah. One of my good friends, Steph Johnson, the other Steph Johnson, um, an amazing jazz singer, jazz guitar player, amazing vocalist, and her husband is an amazing bass player who does the backup for her. Yeah, I think the thing for me when we were talking about this earlier, I think it was last night actually, is that um, just trying to fit into a scene was the hardest thing because my music had morphed from the uh, singer songwriter folky rocky neo soul type deal to straight up, I wouldn't say, yeah, somewhat bossa driven, as far as the guitar is concerned, but bossa driven music. But even before then, like when I was working with Tim, or better yet, when I was in Ghetto Sage, the stuff that we recorded was really soul driven, um, you know, soul driven vocals, really like neo soul type of rock tinged music, And I think the thing that really, like I said, kind of like blew my mind was um, coming back was the getting the Brazilian experience of going down there and hearing the music, like in my face, you know, and watching the people dance. And man, I mean, dude, it was yeah, we don't have anything on those people, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, we do in some instances, but the way they do it is just no.
Yeah, they've cornered their market. We can't touch their kind of their type of soul when it comes to the bossa nova and just everything Brazilian or whatever. I've got a question about writing as far as that goes. When you transitioned from kind of your folk rock fusion kind of stuff, soul fusion, and incorporated the bossa nova stuff into your stylings, did that change the way you write? Did you start off with like lyrics first back before you incorporated the bossa nova, and then did you start with the music, once you incorporated the bossa nova and then add the lyrics kind of secondarily? Did any of that change or?
Um, so how did that work? So I think I think so. When I started writing, like really writing the music, um, it was kind of wild because I would always somehow I guess it just depended. It was like, sometimes I'd write the lyrics first, but um, lately I would say literally I've for the last so many years I've always been in a situation where I'm writing the music first.
Yeah.
Like there's all the stuff that I write, I record everything, all like everything I do, and there just there's a lot of things that, like, hold on, I'll give you a so here's this one thing where it's like, so it's, you see. Hold on. And I still don't have words to that.
Got it.
Yeah, I still don't have words to it.
But
There's
you've
just,
got the vocal melody already down, and
yeah,
are you kind of just like following your vocal melody that you already have in mind and hitting the root notes, and then building your guitar? Your guitar writing is based on kind of the basics of the vocal melody that you have in your head.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's like, but
Yeah.
I don't have. I've that piece of music that I just wrote is probably 7 years old,
Okay.
and I still don't have lyrics for it. I can't think of any. I can't think of like what do I put to this? Like it. It's got this really like. I mean, it could be an instrument. It could just be a jazz piece. You know what I mean? Um, like a really like someone could play sax over it. Like I don't know, but I mean, I've got some lyrics, but I don't know if they work or not. I don't. I'm not. I need to be like, when you write a song, you got to be moved by your own song, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You can't like. I know there's a song on that album, on that record, that on that Zero Brain record. What was it? What's the one? There's two. There's one about a rocket ship,
There's Laser Gun. I forgot my
laser
Laser
gun,
Gun.
laser
Yeah.
gun, and something heart.
Wooden Dragon Heart.
Yeah, those two,
Yeah.
unbelievable. The Wood Dragon Heart is just, God. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good, man. It's just, you know, you've got to be. I believe, if you're going to write something and put it out there, which is, you know, putting your soul on the line. If you put it out there and you're like hoping people like it, there's this story about Prince opening up for this festival for a bunch of like huge gathering of like bikers and non really like soul listening people, and they kind of like booed him off the stage. And yeah, yeah, they kind of like get out of here, dude.
Oh,
Take your
wow.
take your spandex and your high heels and kick rocks, and
Jeez.
yeah, dude, yeah,
Which
I
we were talking a little bit about. That also happened to David Bowie at first. Like
yeah,
nobody really wanted his style of music at first, and he still had to do a little developing. He had to kind of develop that personality, that fictitious character, Ziggy Stardust, a little bit more before people found interest in it. But it just confounds me to think of these greats like being ignored or told they're no good by anybody.
David Bowie, dude. Ziggy played guitar. Ziggy played guitar. How's that go? Ziggy played guitar, telling us that he was voodoo, but the kid was just crass. He was God given something with God given ass.
Yeah.
Well, too far. But dude, it's just dude, on the whole, that entire record, bro. Like we were talking about, it's just that guy could write, dude.
Oh yeah, I'm seriously jealous. I mean, that's obvious when you listen to Laser Gun. I don't think it's up on YouTube. I'll have to see if I can find some copies of all that stuff and make a new, or maybe we could throw them on this channel.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
But yeah, when you listen to Laser Gun, it's clearly inspired by David Bowie. I mean,
it's
that's
such a great
where
song,
it
dude.
comes from. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's just, I listen to, well, it's just like, you talk about like writing greats, like, so these two guys, actually three, Holland, Dozier Holland, they wrote a lot of the songs for all the Motown, um, uh, all the Motown groups and all the Motown talent, which was just talent personified, man. It was just like, how
Yeah.
can you like the Temptations, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, the Supremes, Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder. Um, who else? If you're going to go in that timbre, or in that musical genre, Aretha
Did you
Franklin,
say the Reverend Al Green?
Al Green, the Reverend, yeah. Um, who else? I mean, I'm forgetting a lot of people, dude.
Yeah, the list is just endless. I
Martha
mean,
Reed and the Vandellas, calling out around the world, dancing in the street, dancing. Did that call and response that they used to do, man? I mean, like if you listen to the way those songs were written and how they were sang, like if you listen to like this one song, it goes to the love bugs. How's it go? The love bug done bit me. Dude, they just dun 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 dun. It's just sick. And you're
uh,
like, you're like 7 years old listening to this stuff, and your brain is about to explode because it, man. Imagine, like, I was like, in 66, 67, when all that music came out, dude, it was just like, it was crazy. And then you had the Stones, you know, you had the Beatles, you had the Dave Clark Five, you had Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, you had all this crazy music coming out at all the same time. It's just, man, growing up then was just insane. It was. You had the wars and, you know, the power to the people and, oh, still power to the people, right on. Um, you know, but yeah, dude, it was, you know, like, dude, at 64, it's like I'm 60 fucking 4 years old. Anyways, at 64, and just going back, like I remember talking to some friends, and this is when I was like 54, 55, 56, and they were like, dude, you grew up in the 60s. I was like, yeah. They're like, what was that like? I'm like, dude, I was just a kid, but you don't forget any of that stuff, dude.
Yeah.
And then the 70s came, and you had all the some really amazing, like, some of the best, some of the best, like you said, Al Green. I mean, every song he put out in the 70s was just insane. It was, so you went from, like, I'm not talking too much, am I?
No, no,
No, okay. So
no, no.
you went from uh like literally out of the 60s with, like, coming out of the 60s with Led Zeppelin came out with their first album, I think, in like 69. And Jimi Hendrix died in 72. Jim Morrison died in like 68 or 68, I think it was. Janis Joplin died in like 60 or 70, 72 or something like that. And then everyone was like, what are we? But dude, for me, you had like Little Feat. You had, because I was breaking away from the whole, like, Motown thing, and I was getting into, like, the quote unquote, um, like, singer songwriter thing,
Mhm.
with, like I said, one of my faves, uh, Jackson Brown and Joni Mitchell, James Taylor. They were singer songwriters, right?
Yeah.
And that's where I learned a lot of like how to play, a C, literally a D, a C, and a G chord. And also, this is when you had music classes in school. Like, you could take guitar for from the seventh grade to ninth grade,
That's
from
crazy.
the seventh grade to 12th grade, the
Yeah,
entire
no,
time. Yeah,
no, we got a couple weeks of playing the recorder, the flute
yeah.
recorder thing.
no,
That's it.
no, man. Michael Johnson. That was my guitar teacher, and it was like, myself, Reggie Moses, a lot of us, man, we all learned how to play guitar when we were 12 years old.
Wow.
And yeah, man. Yeah, and then I got the into high school, and I took choir.
Same
So
here.
yeah, I had Barbara Posey as my our choral instructor.
Mhm. Yeah.
And this woman, like, was just amazing. Like, we sang nothing but classical music. We sang madrigals, and it really, really, really taught me how to sing. Like, it taught me tone and melody. And growing up in a church was amazing as well. But the classical sense of vocals, in
Yeah.
the classical sense of vocals, the way she taught it, um, also gave you just the ability to go out and that's why go out and sing. And that's why when people are like, man, you have such vocal control, I'm like, dude, I did this I sang like this twice a week for 3 years. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And we did all these. We would go all over the state of Maryland, doing all these, like, um, singing at all these, like, choir contests. like, what do we call that, contests? But anyways, yeah, we do these festivals, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember when we went to the University of Maryland, and we got up there and blew the doors off these off these like university students, like off these university choirs. Are like, what school? We're like, we're in high school. We're like, what? We're like,
Yeah.
yeah, we're in high school, man.
No,
We're a
that's
bunch of,
great.
you know, we're a bunch of snotty nosed kids, man.
Yeah.
Like, you kidding me? I'm like, nah, dude. So yeah, I mean, you know, I know, like, you know, we were talking yesterday. It was like, you know, being in a being an American, and just this, I can't believe we're such a, as rich as we are in talent and just the ability to just give to the world. I can't believe we're such a, just a, how messed up we are, dude.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because it's certainly true that like the entertainment arts is part of how we, as a species, like the human species, pass down a lot of our important lessons. Like, I was born much after you. Not saying anything about your age, just that I did not experience the '60s or the '70s. I was born in the '70s in
Mhm.
'79, um, and so I remember being young and there wasn't as many like great documentary there really you didn't see documentaries about like the '60s and the '70s in Oklahoma at least. They didn't like to broadcast too much about the civil rights. We didn't hear about the Tulsa race riots or anything like that.
Mhm.
And Roger Stone, was it Roger Stone, didn't have a lot of his like movies out that showed a lot of that, the flower power kind of stuff yet. uh, where I got my
Oliver Stone. Oliver Stone.
Oliver Stone, where I
Yeah.
got a lot of my like inklings or vibe, like the where I understood the vibe of the '60s and stuff was mostly from music. And that thankfully those artists, their job, as writers, is to capture a moment, capture the understanding of this time and place, and this culture shift or whatever. And those musicians did it so well that you can basically like picture the corner on a street in like New York or wherever or down in the South, depends on the song, right? As it should. They can like just lay out this scene and put you there. And even as a kid, I remember like kind of getting a basic vibe. And then later, when I would see footage and reenactments, movies that captured very well the historical accuracy, and photographs and stuff like that, and just random footage from historical preservation societies and stuff. The
Mhm.
music did a really good job. Like what I pictured in my head was pretty dang close to what was what I perceived to have actually been happening. Obviously, I can't say firsthand because I wasn't alive yet,
Mhm.
but I'm very thankful that there's the skill that humans have that we're able to like put down in kind of like a fictitious, imaginative medium or format, this preservation of our culture and stuff. But you're right that like as good as we are at that, and like kind of traditionally through entertainment history, Americans have been considered some of the best producers of entertainment in the world, right? It's kind of the gold standard. Not to say that other countries haven't met us in that recently. That has happened. There are other countries like Korea is doing a really good job, but in like movies and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
TV shows. But yeah, as good as we are at that, there's a lot of gatekeeping where you kind of have to be privileged in one way or another. Either with like you're privileged enough to have and I don't mean privileged in a bad way, privileged enough to have like a good music teacher as a young, kid. Been young enough to have music lessons like you. I mean, old enough to have had music lessons like you were. There's just a whole bunch of circumstances where a lot of people don't get to a point where they can produce material like that and deliver messages that we probably need as a nation. We're missing out on a whole lot of storytelling from a whole lot of people because we're not making sure that all of our kids have a choice to decide whether they can go into that because we educate them well enough and give them enough time, the resources to explore that and see if they actually want to do that and become the storytellers that pass down the important information. But we do get a lot of it because there are so many, hundreds of millions of Americans. Thankfully, we continue to churn out every generation a lot of really good musicians and writers, like book writers and stuff like that. So at least we've got that. Excuse me.
Yeah, remember we were talking about like, even though we're good, how Pain produces like some of the most amazing art on the planet. I mean, dude, yeah, like, let me see, you're somewhere in Africa. It's, I don't know, 1654. You're chilling, and all of a sudden you're on a boat, you know, chained to the bottom of the boat, and all of a sudden you're in different parts of the world. You're in millions of Africans, and then all this amazing music comes from it, dude. Like, like, it sucks. Yeah, it does suck. But at the
But
same
it's
time,
powerful.
it's
It makes
powerful.
something it makes something
Yeah.
more powerful in that medium than we would have received otherwise. I mean, that's literally where the most powerful music comes from, is from the experience of the slave, timeline, and then it burgeons into like gospel and blues and stuff, and jazz. Those are the most like powerful forms of music, especially the ones that address their grievances or pass down the oral, the traditional oral lyrics, I guess, or call and response
History.
stuff. Yeah,
History.
history through that stuff. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, nothing's more powerful. I can't think of a genre of music or a song that's modern that is more powerful than those songs. I
Yeah.
honestly can't.
Yeah. Yeah. I went to a Pentecostal church when I was, oh God, for 4 years in Alaska. And dude, let me tell you, man, the gospel music I heard in that church was off the hook.
Really.
Like, oh God, yeah, man. Like really, like people, like, just like you had a piano player that could just play anything, organ. Um, and that's literally where I learned, like, wow, okay, this is amazing, And then, it was just like, well, I'm gonna. In my mind, in my heart, my soul, I just took it and ran with it. My parents bought a piano when I was 8 years old for my sister. She was 10, and we both took piano lessons. That was my first instrument. And on top of, like you said, listening to all the music, the gospel music that I was listening to, the jazz that I was listening to. And it's something, there's something to be said about an entire constructed race of people who were put in a situation, where they had to sink or swim. And what really, I think, got them through those hard times was just the not only their spirit, but the spirit that brought the music into play. That you know I mean, I couldn't imagine. I mean, I grew up in the '60s. That was, bro. That was a violent time. That was, really, really violent time. I mean, it's violent now, but back then, like I said before, you didn't have any social media. You had no help groups. You didn't. You didn't have. You couldn't run to your counselor. Man, they're beating me up. There was none of that. There was none of that, dude. You were just like, God, how am I going to get through? I'm the oldest of four boys. But the music and the fact that I remember. I clearly remember the first time I heard the Beatles when I was a kid, but I mean, like, I clearly, like, when I really started getting into those guys was in the '60s, when I really started getting into, like, dude, James Brown, bro. I'm telling you, back then the dude was like a god. He was like, yeah, man, the king of soul, and Aretha was the queen of soul. And it was just like an Otis Redding. And dude, man, I mean, Otis had the band though, dude. He had such an amazing, you know, there was so much to listen to. Well, there still is, but it didn't quite just touch you like it did back then, man. Because I mean, people were going through it, bro. You know what I mean? Like they were just like if you were indigenous, I'm talking like Native American. If you were uh, uh, not Hispanic, what was it? Not a Cholo, Chicano. If you were Chicano, if you were, you know, down with Cesar Chavez, you know, and Martin Luther King, and you know, Stokely Carmichael and all those cats, Bobby Seale, some serious times, dude. And I mean, the music reflected it, and the whole big afro wearing, you know, black glove fisted, you know, it was so intense. And my parents let us watch it. They just, yeah, be my guest. They didn't,
Yeah.
yeah, they didn't, you know, I got to give my parents credit, man. They really didn't keep that from us. But a lot of, a lot of, it's crazy. It's just crazy how intense that was, and how intense it is now. Like it's just like, dude, like, like we did that once. I'm like, no, we've done that a couple times. Well, it's always been like that. It's always been like that. But that's where the music comes in, man. Like you got to write about it, you know. Like I wrote a song about, you know, the wall and Donald Trump, you know, and you know, about like, hey, man, you know, once upon a time in the golden age when love was blind, we were. How's it go? Hold on. Let me see. It goes. Once upon a time in the golden age when love was blind. Okay. Once upon a time in the golden age when love was blind. Suited for the, you know, I can't play the whole thing, but basically what it says is, you know, I just want to be free, you know, from all these constraints of people telling me, vote for me, I'll set you free. Vote for me, I'll set you free. No, dude, you won't. No, you won't. You won't. You won't. I'll do this and I'll do that. No, really, you won't. Same old song and dance. So, yeah, Aerosmith, same old song and dance, my friend. So yeah, it's just it's you know, and Tin Soldiers and Nixon coming, all that stuff, dude. Like, just I'm so glad I was born in that era. Or, you know, it wouldn't have been bad if I was born in the era in the 40s when bebop jazz and all that stuff was, you know, like kicking butt, you know. It's like that story you had about Ella Fitzgerald and
Billie Holiday.
Holiday. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a crazy story.
Yeah, just the jazz era. I mean, obviously the Queens. I've mentioned it before in a previous podcast, but I'll just never get over Jack Kerouac putting his prose into kind of scatting on top of jazz music. I'll never forget that stuff. I mean, it's not music. Well, it's music. It's just not music we know. You know, it's like a
Mm.
totally different thing. It's jazz in its own way, which is what he wanted. He wanted to be a jazz musician. And I'm just grateful that he took the time to explore that and try to become a writer in a different way, you know? Like it's still like pen and ink writing, but it transitioned into musical writing, and what a brave thing to do. Same thing for those women, to be black and go on stages with mixed race crowds at that time was nearly a suicide pact, you know. Um, Very brave women, and I'm very thankful that they did that and they changed the world, and will never be the same because of them, in a good way, in a great way.
Oh yeah,
So,
man. Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, it's just I look at like just the fact that um like when we had that discussion about I mean, dude, it's just I mean, and I get it, I understand it, but it's like, you can't uh it's you make this music, right? You make this music, and you can't, like, I don't care if you're white, black, yellow, green, purple, or pink in the 50s. You can't deny what it does to your soul. Like, it just makes you move. And white parents back in the 50s did not want their white kids listening to that Negro music, dude.
No.
No, no, no. We have our radio station, and you have your radio station.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you know, somehow Elvis made it listenable. The Big Bopper made it listenable. Um, what's the guy? La 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 bamba. What's his name?
Oh man. uh,
Um,
uh, ugh.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what we do every time we. I
I
mean,
know.
me and my
I
wife,
just,
and I'm like, Lobamba. You know who I'm talking about, Lobamba.
yeah. No, I know. But no, all
uh,
of that stuff, all of that music came out, dude, it was just like, uh, I'm thinking there was another one called Earth Angel. Earth Angel. Yeah, that one. And who's the guy who had the glasses?
No, Billy. Sorry, no, damn it. Something Holiday. Yeah. I can picture his face, especially the glasses.
I can't believe
Um,
I'm stroking out on this.
I know we're both doing really bad with names right now.
Oh man,
Um,
Buddy Holly.
Buddy Holly, not
Yeah,
Holiday. I
Buddy
was
Holly.
close.
Buddy Holly. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
really close. Yeah, I mean, all those guys came through, and it was just like, okay, now we can listen to it.
Yeah.
And then it goes across the ocean, and then there are the Beatles, dude, and it's
Yeah.
over.
They brought
It's
us modern
over.
rock, really. The
It's
British.
over. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, the British invasion, man. The Dave Clark Five, the Beatles, the Stones, uh, the Turtles. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, man. Yeah. Who's the group? Was it the Turtles? There is a house in New Orleans. They call they were
No.
British.
Who?
They call
Yeah.
the Rolling Sun. But yeah, there were oh, and of course, dude, come on. Zepp. I mean, but dude, as much as I like Led Zeppelin, well, as much as I like Led Zeppelin, they really stole a lot of stuff from the blues guys, man. Like
Oh yeah.
tone of stuff. You know,
Oh yeah.
so you appropriate someone else's culture, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But that being said, um, you know, as much as you want to say, okay, that's what he did, dude, Eric Clapton and Cream.
Cream. Oh my God. Of course.
God, dude, just I listened to them probably at least once a day. I listened to Cream. It like just his lead and his guitar playing is so unbelievable. I mean, he got it from all the greats, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Um, but it's just when I listen to like BB King, it's just like it's just a whole nother situation. I mean, you know, when I listen to all of those guys, man, I mean the blues is as George Carlin once said, why would white people sing the blues? Like they've never had anything. They like white people can't sing the blues. He's like, and then you see, like Like, dude, when have you ever really? I mean, if you the blues, dude, you know, it's like you got how does it? One of my buddies told me one time. He's like, so he was married to a girl. This is in San Diego, and she was white, beautiful girl, dude. He's a handsome dude too, but he got in a fight with his father-in-law, and he's like, "Yeah, man, well, I know you like our rhythm, but you can't stand our blues." And I was just like, "Dude, you didn't say that to him." He's like, "I did," and he's like, "I said it." He's like, he wanted to fight me. I'm like, "Are you? Yeah, I would too, man. I mean, are you kidding me?"
I
He's
mean,
like,
those are provocative words on purpose.
"But on prayer, he knew it. He knew it. He knew it, dude." And he was ready, dude. It was. He goes, "It was bad, bro." He's like, it just when I said that, it was kind of like over. I was like, "Really? You think?" I'm like, dude, it's like,
I
yeah,
mean, I was intentionally going to say something provocative, but I want to issue the warning ahead of time. So
yeah.
you were saying that the blues, white people that don't have a reason to sing the blues, and my mind started to reel, and I'm like, these days, like,
Oh
things
God,
are
yeah.
being these days things are being made bad for everybody. But then I was like kind of thinking like, well, but what's the logical result of like continuing that pattern, even as a joke? I was like, well, we've got a lot of white people music that's producing kind of screamcore, like yelling and stuff. I'm like, then what would the logical the analogy be? It would be, in my mind, kind of as a joke. People don't send me hate mail. That screamcore and stuff is like white people throwing a fit, like a child who's lost their privilege. So there's been privilege the whole time, and then what does a privileged baby do when they meet the harsh reality and they get the rattle taken away, or they bump their head and everything's not hunky dory? They cry, they pound their fists, and they yell really loud, and make life kind of hell for everybody's ears. And that's
And
what
everybody else. Period.
that's that's what I kind of get at. I mean, people don't send me, hate mail. I loved metal when I was a kid, and my parents thought it was like indiscernible. It was not music. It hurt their ears. I can't really get totally on board with a lot of the screamcore stuff, but that's probably more to do with just my age and what I grew up with. In my formative years, I didn't have any of that stuff around me. So I don't think most of it existed. Like there was like punk and metal when I was growing up and stuff, and that was
Dude,
about
when I was a kid, yeah, it was punk music. It was hardcore punk, like like hardcore punk music. Like,
yeah.
um,
And talk about a literary format, because a lot of original punk was people who really weren't musicians. I mean, they're musicians, but they weren't classically trained. It wasn't traditional music. They were kind of just like figuring out as they go, like by the seat of their pants. But the lyrics were profoundly political and profoundly like literary. They
God
were,
Save the Queen, dude.
yeah, yeah. I mean it, man. Yeah.
You know, she ain't no human being. I mean, all of it. Elvis Costello wasn't really punk, but it was new wave. But I mean, like Bad Brains, like
Yeah.
the Kennedys. Like those are two groups that
Minor Threat and like
Minor Threat,
what
dude.
was like take the skinheads bowling. What a
Yeah, yeah,
line.
yeah, yeah, dude.
That's like one of the best lines ever.
I mean, just well, I mean, you're coming out of like, this serious, like war tinted, tinged era of the 60s and the 70s, because the war didn't end until 75.
Right.
And so like right after that, literally right after that war was over, it was punk and disco, man.
Hmm.
And all of the frivolity that came with it. Like disco was just like, man, like there was just, might as well have been the 20s, because that's what I'm telling you, dude. It was bad news. The party was on and cracking. It was on, dude. It was just like, I don't even want to tell you what it was like, but you know what it was like. You've seen
I,
all.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think I would have survived. I mean, I did so much damage to myself on my own. Like partying from Austin to New Orleans to San Diego. If you had like introduced me into taken me back in time and let me try to survive the disco and then the 80s, the cocaine fueled early 80s, I wouldn't have made
It
it,
was all
dude.
disco, dude, from like 70, from like 76, 77, all the way to like literally like 85, 86, like a good 10 years of just debauchery.
Yeah, I
And
was
then you
gonna
get all
say
the,
like 84 to 86, I think is when the first hair bands kind of started
yes, you nailed
forming.
it.
Yeah.
And it was just like, and dude, people were just like losing their shit. I mean, like, I know I was, and that's literally what made me join them when I got out of college, when I left the University of Maryland in 84, 83. That's literally what made me go in the Marine Corps.
Which was what? The hair bands or the end of
The party,
the
the
partying?
party. I'm like, if I don't do something, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
So, and it couldn't have been. It was probably. I mean, I was playing a lot of, I was playing a lot of music, but I just couldn't do it, man. I just couldn't do it. So I
Yeah.
left, and I went to the Marine Corps. But Marine Corps, I mean, a lot of the music that I write, um, comes from a lot of the experiences that I've had in the Marine Corps, just growing up, and I mean, it's just it's amazing how when I look at all the music that I've lived through, you know what I mean? Like when you were a kid, you heard this, you heard that, you heard this, you heard that, and then in the '70s, like I remember going to these concerts, man. Like I went and saw. Who have I seen, dude? I've seen the Grateful Dead. I've seen Aerosmith, which was an amazing concert. Uh, I saw Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I saw Heart, the Rolling Stones, um, Linda Ronstadt, which is amazing. I saw the Eagles. Dude, I've just seen so. I saw. I can't remember the name of the band, but it was Stanley Clark, Ronnie Woods, and Keith Richards, the New Barbarians. And I saw them. Dude, I just saw so much music. Like I saw the Thunderbirds. Just. I mean, because there was just music everywhere, and it was cheap. A ticket was $12.
Yeah.
You know. Oh, dude, I saw Santana. I saw the Police. I saw REM. I saw all these bands, dude, and it was just like, you know, oh man, I saw the Cars. I saw Nazareth. I mean, like only love can, dude. Na 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 na. Love is like a rock. Love hurts. Ooh, love hurts. You remember that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
of
man.
course.
I saw that band. The
Like a,
cars opened for them, dude. Yeah,
yeah.
it was crazy at Baltimore. Yeah, yeah, dude. I saw it just. But now, tickets are $300 a piece.
Yep.
I mean, come on. Are you
Yeah.
serious?
I would be going to a concert like every other month probably if they weren't so expensive. Now I go to a concert a year, I think. I went to Weezer this year. I went to Weezer last year. That's it. The only other music I see is like, if we're at a local bar or something and somebody's playing, which is rare too. Like I don't go out and drink as much as I used to, and thankfully. But yeah, like there's a new punk bar here in Oklahoma City called Grand Royale, and it's got, dude, you would have loved it back in the day. I mean, you'd love it now, but
Mm.
it's got just every Friday, I think, or something. They do just the old school. There's just a cleared out corner when they just plug in to the wall and have a little strip and there's a couple amps and it's old school punk. That's exactly what it is. It's all these young kids who are just carrying that torch forward and writing their songs and hustling, getting out to little clubs. And thankfully, Oklahoma City didn't have a punk club until these guys. I mean, places where punk kids could hang out, but not a true like dive where they played constantly. Now there's thankfully another punk bar in Oklahoma City after a long gap of that. We need more of that too, where we're building out venues, and like, a venue can be just a bar, but you need to convince a lot of the bands to maybe do a side hustle. Like, yeah, sure, I know you need your amphitheater, seats to like, make your money and stuff and sell your merch and all of that to support yourself and your family and all of the people that you've adopted into your family, like the roadies and stuff. But I'd appreciate it if once in a while they played some festivals for free, or showed up like to a small bar as like a surprise gig or something like that. We need a lot more of that. Like these kids need to be, I say these kids, so do we, need to be
Mhm.
exposed to truly great writers, personally, up close, up in front. We need to meet our heroes. Uh, Putting up that gate between everybody that's like, can you afford a $300 ticket at the cheapest? It might be $1,200 if there's a reseller, like that got to it first and it's
California.
sold
Yeah.
out. Yeah. That's a big time gatekeeping problem, and there's a lot of these younger generations who, like you just listed a bunch of bands that you got to see. That's not possible for a lot of people today,
No,
and
no.
we're gonna discourage a lot of potential new writers and musicians because they just don't. There's a different experience, just like. Just like there is for people listening to their favorite band, there's a difference in the experience between listening through your headphones or like seeing them face to face. It's just as profound for writers. Like when we're in a room, you know what this is all about. Like whenever you start playing a song you're just now creating, it's never existed before. When you all lock in, it just like fires something off in your brain in a way that doesn't
It's
happen otherwise. It's a
it's
unique
pretty
thing.
astounding.
Yeah, and so we need kids to experience that too, for the first time ever. I mean, it's a drug, dude. And if we can get them to get their brains to light up by experiencing these, profoundly good bands, writers, in front of themselves, then they're more prone to seek out stuff like that on their own and start writing stuff themselves with their friends, in their neighborhood or whatever from their school. And then we've got the next generation of super talented Americans who are going to change, the industry once again. We just need it. We need a
Yeah,
lot more people.
yeah, I agree with you 100%. That's what happened to me. What was I in the ninth grade or the 10th grade? I think I was in the 10th grade. I was 15 years old, and that's what I was in my first band. I was 15, and from that point on, other than my mid 20s, from I would say I kind of lost contact with that. Oh, God, I hate to say this. I was still writing a lot of music, but I lost contact with that for not really. Okay, yeah. So how did it work? So I went in the Marine Corps in '83. I got out in '89. I moved back here, and I moved to LA in '92. Okay, yeah. So from '92 to like ooh, 95, 96, I was playing a lot of music, and then my wife at the time kind of shut that down. So for a good 4, 5, 6 years, I really didn't do anything.
Uh-huh.
And then I moved to San Diego, and that's when I met David Harris, and it had just opened up again. And slowly but surely, I met a lot of other musicians, and then we all started hanging out at the Whistle Stop amongst all the other like talented writers, performers, and so on. And we basically we didn't a scene just blossomed out of that. You know what I mean? And it was you saw it for yourself.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You were there.
Yep.
And that was just amazing, dude. It was just wow. It was
Yeah.
like you couldn't be anywhere else but there every single night. Like
Yeah.
every single night, you had to be at the whistle stop
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you didn't know what was going to happen.
You could feel the difference between that scene, like the culture, the people, that bar. They happened to be at that bar, but if you took all of those people to a different bar and made that their favorite bar, it still would have been that incredible scene. So it was just a special moment where you had all of these ridiculously talented people, like you were saying, all like-minded and all appreciating each other's company. It's like we found each other.
Yeah,
It's not that everybody knew everybody from beforehand. You can just kind of recognize each other. It's almost like you can smell the talent in the air. And it's like a party. It's like when you feel the vibe at a party, you just don't want to leave, right?
and that
Until
was
you get
every night, dude.
yeah, yeah, it
I was
really
every
was.
night for like 5 years. It was
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah.
You
I
know what I
remember
mean?
I'd get there early to start playing pool because I didn't want to miss anything. So I'd show up before most people were there, and I'd be playing pool, and then people would start piling in, and I'd
And
hang
you wouldn't
around as
leave.
long.
We wouldn't leave until it closed.
Yep.
And we'd
Yeah.
be there from what 7 to 2 every night.
Yeah, yeah. Until we decided we might as well take this back to my house and
Just
just
stay
do
up
it
till
there.
5. Dude, it was oh, dude, and it. See, I left. So I left that scene in like, well, COVID destroyed it. Like
Yeah,
COVID just put it to bed. Like it
yeah,
really, like I don't know. Yeah, man, because we were still hanging out up until, let me see, I don't know. It was 2018, 2019, but yeah, for a good long time, that place was just, it was just, I mean, I remember the times, I can't remember how many times I've played at that place, man. I played, especially when I was in the Bankhead Press. We played there once a month, every month for like almost 7 or 8 months, or almost a year. And
yeah,
then we broke up, and then Pan Am, I was in that band, and and you and I are playing together, and it was like it was just so much music, man. And to this day, I have to say, it's amazing to me that really no one in that scene ever really, other than Steph, she got on America's Got Talent with her choir.
Oh,
She
really?
homeless
I
choir,
didn't
yeah.
I
She
didn't know
put
that.
together this homeless, yeah, Steph, not our Steph,
Oh, okay, okay.
but another Steph Johnson. Yeah, she got on America's Got Talent with this homeless choir from San Diego.
Huh.
But she and her husband are like ridiculously talented musicians. I mean, like ridiculously talented musicians.
Yeah.
They got on, but I mean, other than that, of all the people I know, no one really. I mean, and the talent was immense. I mean,
Yeah, there wasn't like a really big like record pressing like talent scout
yeah,
like population there. They weren't coming to San Diego bars to like look for talent. They were up in LA obviously because it was still like the mythology of like every if if you want to be found and they would only look in their backyard for the most part. There were some bands that did fairly well from San Diego, but they did well through the radio circuit. Like they would all of a sudden get played on the radio around California and then around the rest of the world, and then they would pick up tours that way. Like they would shop their music to the radios and get it played like once or twice, and then people would call in and request it. Remember that old school trick where you'd like have friends or just whatever, everybody like request your music from a radio station and bully them basically into playing something, and then
yeah.
and
Who was Jimmy? Remember Jimmy, the bartender?
then
He was a bass player. He was in a band. I can't remember the name of it, but they were really big. They were really big. But they lasted 4 years maybe. And
yeah, that's usually what happened. There was a couple rock bands where we like with like Aaron Basler. I can't remember what his friend's name was, but he had like the craziest rock hair. It was like, a throwback from the hair band, big tall dude with crazy hair is just how I kind of thought of him. They were in a big band in San Diego, and it only lasted like 4 years. It just seems like there's this shelf life for, kind of um, like kitsch like kitsch bands, you know,
Yeah.
like they're stuck in one little kind of pocket and they're not really going to move anywhere else. Yeah, but I mean, you know, that was also when things started to transition into self-publishing and streaming stuff online. That was the big like the beginning of the big transition was right then.
So it
So
broke the
things
camel's back, dude.
yeah, I mean, I think they were pulling traditional publishing was pulling back its money anyway from hiring too many people at that point as well. That was when Napster and all that stuff appeared, and the record industry was basically collapsing. So
Yeah, there is no record industry anymore, dude.
yeah,
I mean, back in the day when you had like a wall full of vinyl, and you could, you know, I've got a vinyl, I've got a record player like a box right under. I've got a ton of vinyl sitting right here, and I mean, I could put it on right now. Like I've got all
right.
these, yeah, dude. It's just and it sounds so good. You know, some people
Yeah,
are like, I hate vinyl. I'm like, oh, whatever, dude. It's just warm and friendly, and I know it, and it's like a blanket. You know? It's
I miss as like a you know a writer of this kind like I'm doing the finger thing if anybody's listening to this like typing on a typewriter. I miss like reading the liner notes more than anything like I of things I miss like from the music industry. I miss reading those liner notes, like sitting back, you know, to a new album and listening to fresh music for the first time and reading, not even with the song, you know. I'd just be reading all the lyrics for all the songs and like even though like, all the little production details and like the name of the drummer, like all the, you know, like the band lists
miss
and
that,
everything.
man.
Yeah, it was so good. That's something that again I wish we. I mean, I guess you could pull up your phone and like you know read their
You can
website or
Google it.
something.
That's what I do. I do. I
Yeah,
mean, I remember like I'll hear a song and I'm like, dude, who's playing bass on that? And then boom, you know, I go on Google and it gives me the entire like all the liner notes, man. It's wild, dude. I mean, you know, when I listen to like all the music, when I remember all the music that came before all this stuff, you know, with that influenced my writing, you know, um, I mean, there's some songs I wrote like Black Flower Child that I mean that's a rock song, dude. That's a straight up rock song, you know. And I wrote that song, dude. I'm gonna tell you right now. I moved to LA in 1992. Like I moved in. I was in Hollywood, up in the hills. Here's Hollywood Bowl. Our house is right up here, like across the street, Highland Avenue. And it was like, bro, like there was just you could just smell it. You know what I mean? It was just like it was so tense and dank, and you know the riots. Because I mean, I got there 2 weeks before the riots, right? That happened, and then you know you had grunge, you had get straight up gang. I mean, Dre and Snoop dropped that album, The Chronic, the year I moved there.
wow, yeah,
You know what I mean? And it was just like, bro, it was sick. It was sick. But we wrote some. I wrote some amazing music. Let's see if I can do this. Like, let's see. Fist open, change hat. Fist open. Anyways, fist open, change falling, empty pockets outstretched, like I bear my soul to you. Empty streets, city lights, oh, raindrops cascade by the fine overhead. Gray waterfall, taxis on other side. Yeah, dude. I wrote that in '92. And it's
Nice.
still,
Wow.
yeah, dude. It was. I wrote that. I wrote Call. I wrote. This is all I wrote. Like within a stretch of like the first 5 or 6 months I was here, dude. I wrote like 8 or 9 songs because the music was. I mean, in LA, the music. I mean, dude, LA. I mean, back then, it probably is now for someone who's just getting there for the first time, who's feeling that because it's like this pressure cooker, man, of just intensity.
Mhm.
San Diego's like the little brother, like the little sister, actually. San Diego's like, oh, what am I gonna do today?
Uh-huh.
No, I guess I'll just, I'll just hang out and smoke a joint, and maybe I'll go to the beach. I don't know. But LA's like, I think we're gonna have a 7.2 earthquake, and that's just what it is. Oh yeah, I was there during that. I was Northridge quake. I was at the studio in Pasadena. We drive home. I ever told you about this?
I don't think so. This doesn't
Yeah,
ring a
so check
bell.
this out. We're at the studio. We're recording my first demo. It's me, Chris, Michael, and it was just me, Chris, and Michael, and Richard. And we get through at about 2 in the morning. So we're driving back down to it was me, Chris, and Michael driving down the 605 towards Long Beach because that's where Chris lived. I lived there too, as a matter of fact, at that time. And I dropped Chris off, and all of a sudden, earthquake, dude.
Yeah.
7.2.
Oh my God.
And we're just like, what? And then we wake up the next morning, 6.9 aftershock.
Oh,
Next day, 6.5 aftershock. Next day, 6.6 aftershock. And my buddy Michael, dude, he was like, I'm out, dude. I'm like, where are you going? I'm moving back to New York, bro. I'm like, what? Packed his stuff and left, dude. He was like, I'm like, dude, you gotta be kidding me. I'm like, he's like, nope, I'm gone. Can't do this anymore. Can't do it. Can't do it. And I'm like, all right, man, I get it. But dude, yeah, it was crazy back then. It was, and then yeah, you had that whole like, you had the Menendez brothers, you had O.J. Simpson. It was all in that, like the first 2 years I was in LA, all of that happened.
Yeah.
All of it. And I was just like, and then I'd started dating my soon-to-be wife, and I'm like, she's like, don't worry. She's like, it's not always like this. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, I haven't even been here 24 months. And she's like, it's not. I'm like, I'm like, I was like that close to just like, because all the people that came there with my production company, not my production company, the one that I was in,
Right.
they moved back to Maryland, dude. They're
Oh,
like,
wow.
no, I'm gone, dude. I'm not going to deal with this. And
Well,
and I can't say that I don't blame them, because I was working. So they left, and I got a job at the Dick Clark building. Remember Dick Clark?
yeah, of course.
Working for Silver Screens Animation. I was an assistant producer,
Huh.
and we would walk across the street to the canteen at Universal. And man, dude, I gotta tell you, some of the most beautiful people I've ever seen in my life, bro.
I bet. Yeah.
It was just
I
like you're
bet.
just looking around like, wow, like wow, like I mean, a couple of us were like, because what, two of us, well, it was myself and what was his name? There's two guys that were both from out of state, and we were all working at Silver Screens, and we'd go there every day. I mean, until I stopped working there, but I would say I worked there for 2 years, but we'd be there every day eating lunch, like just like, and we weren't. It's not like we were hitting on people. We're just like the whole like. It's so intense, man. It's so like everyone's there to make it, dude.
Yeah.
Everyone's there to make it. Everyone, like I remember, dude. I'll never forget this. It's 1994, 95, something like that. And I'm talking to this girl, and she's like, she's like, hey man, blah blah blah. And I'm like, hey man, blah blah blah. She's like, well, hey man, email me. I'm like,
You're like, what the heck's email? No.
well, what's the hell? What's the And 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 I found out what it was like probably a week later when I started. Well, it's crazy. Anyways, yeah, dude, it was the whole SoCal scene is it literally it doesn't matter how old you are or who you are. You could, if you really wanted to, especially now with all the only thing you gotta have is money. But with all the technology that we have at our fingertips now, bro, you could put something out and make it happen real quick.
Yeah, you know what? I was thinking that earlier. I meant to mention it when you were talking about like Motown and all of the earlier black music, not just black, but it started there. Um, we mentioned either in a previous podcast or last night. Everything's kind of a blur. Was it Brian Wilson with the Beach Boys?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
the big sound, like with all of the instruments, like you'd have the horns and stuff, like in the early black music, 50s, 60s, 40s as well. And we kind of reduced down the number of instruments. I guess the record industry did because it's cheaper, right? Not to have like a full-blown band. You just have like your four kids or whatever, your trap set and your bass and two guitars, and that's cheap. But now that people are using computers to produce a lot of the music, like you'll use Ableton and you'll actually like compose stuff, and then you can put whatever instrument you want on that melody, and it can sound totally artificial or it can sound completely real now. Um, I would love it if we'd get that big, massive sound with like horns and all sorts of orchestral
Violins.
instruments. Yeah, exactly. I hope some kids start exploring with that kind of stuff again so that we get those big, wide, bombastic sounds. I really miss that stuff. Yeah, I guess I don't know. I encourage anybody who's listening right now, if anybody's watching this, and if you've gotten this far, thanks. But yeah, like if you're playing with your computer and stuff, if you're out in San Diego or whatever, there is no lack of content for you to be writing about. Like we've gone through a pandemic and multiple economic downturns, and some people tried to end democracy so they could like take over the country. I mean, there is not a lack of subjects to
So
write
much time,
about,
dude.
and technology is going to allow you to play around with the music that underlies like your lyrics that you're writing or whatever.
Well,
So
look at what Lou Reed did with "Hey Girl, Take a Walk on the Wild Side." He was a she, and like the song "Lola" by the Kinks.
yeah,
Who like there's this one. I saw this one thing on there. I forgot who they were interviewing, but the guy goes, he's a black artist, and he says, he goes, I was hanging out one day and I ran across this band called the Killers, and he goes, now imagine if a band of five black guys called themselves the Killers.
yeah,
You know what I mean? You know what
yeah,
I mean? He's like, but luckily they were all white. No
yeah,
one,
yeah.
and I'm just like, yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah, that totally makes sense. And then if when you flip it, it's like, yeah, the first like power punk, hard edged punk band was a bunch of black guys with dreads,
hmm
right?
Yeah.
Like straight edge. I mean, like hard edge. And I saw these dudes. Oh, at the 930 Club in Washington D.C. I saw Bad Brains there.
Yeah.
It was 1979. 1979. I think it was 79. And I mean, bro, yeah, they don't make bands like that anymore.
Wow. And
No.
and like you said, it's such an odd demographic to start off like what became like almost exclusively a white, young man type of. Can you imagine if the first reggae artist was a white dude with like short hair and a business suit?
Oh my God, dude. But that being said, a lot of the not was it reggae? What was it called? Like Mirror in the Bathroom.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
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 those guys, dude, those cats were white.
yeah.
Yeah, they were tenderness, tenderness, oh, um, the A's, 3 Minute Hero. Uh, I want to be a 3 minute. God, Ugh. They were so good. Those all that music, man, dude. It was just when you listen to dude, the Ramones.
Hmm.
Come on,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, just all of that stuff, man. And yeah, we could sit and talk about this for like the next month every day
Hmm.
because you can't the amount of music that America has made and shipped off to the world is immense.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, they have Elvis impersonators all over the world, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Japan, Korea, Germany. I mean, the Hells Angels are everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Our pop culture translates anywhere you go. Dude, when I watch, like, I'll watch, like, Australia's Got Talent or like some of the, like the talent shows that they have on TV from down under, bro, those kids can sing. They can just straight up sing. It's scary. Like Julie's daughter,
Hmm.
that girl can sing her butt off, bro.
Nice.
I mean, it's just not even funny. She's gorgeous, bro. Her father's Peruvian, and yeah. So it's just like you listen to all, and it's anywhere. Like when you listen to, we can go on and on. Yeah, I think we're gonna. Yeah, yeah.
Well, okay. So before we start to wrap things up, let me ask you a few questions about your writing. Are you mentioned The Wall and Trump, obviously. Um, is there anything you find yourself wanting to, or are you tending to write about modern things? Are you reaching back into like relationship stuff, or what's going on?
Well, there's a song. I've been getting back into like Americana stuff. Like, see, see, rolling through the country and never knew, darling, I should have known. Call me a pretender, I never was. Now I'm on my own. Constantly reminded of the price of fate. Nothing but a new idea. On and on, another hundred world gone. Truly understated, just take a thing, darling, I have to cry. Told you that I loved you, I said I do, but that's just not your style. Constantly reminded of the price of fate. Nothing but a new idea. On and on, another hundred gone. And it goes, see. I don't know why I love you so. You don't know why I love you so. You know, so
Yeah.
yeah, just well that. Hold on, one more. So I'm not done with this. It goes. Uh, I, I, you put I put a lid on my heart, tucked it all away. I was in love with our future, wishing you would stay. Surrendered it's just I haven't. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
But yeah,
sure.
I'm going back to like a lot more like roots, like Americana um, music. I've got some lyrics where I'm writing about certain things that have happened in America as well
Mhm.
that I haven't put music to. But yeah, man, it's crazy because like there's like you said there's oh man there's a song. I'll send it to you. But it's about it's about America basically. You know, um, there's so much to write about, bro. And I know because you, dude. Once you break that little, because I was in, dude. I was in a writer's funk from like, I would have to say, I guess I was 44, 45 to like for about 3 or 4 years. Good hardcore. Couldn't write anything.
Yeah.
Couldn't come up with anything, dude. Because I was in this, you know, I got trapped by my own inability to realize that, you know, people are like, oh, you know, you can't write music and be in a relationship. I'm like, sure you can, dude. You can do whatever you want. You just gotta want to,
Right.
you
Right.
know. You gotta want to, you know. You know, whenever you have like just if you take your pen and put it because I don't type. I still write the music. I still have to write the words.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah, because if I don't, like if I try to sit down and do this, I'm like, I can't do it. I have to write those words like they have to come from here to here, and I have to
Yeah.
write them down. Like I've got notebooks and notebooks and notebooks of lyrics, you know, that need music. And then I've got like video after video after video after video of music that need lyrics. That yeah, you know. And some of them I'm like a lot of them just don't fit, you know, and I'm just like, well, that's all right, you know. I got time. I got
Yeah.
another 15, 20 years, you know,
Yeah.
till I hit the dirt, you know, I don't know, man. Maybe I'll be fish food instead of worm food.
Well, you know, in the not too distant future, you'll actually be able to feed the video and photographs of the written lyrics into an AI and samples of your voice, probably just from music you've already sung. So you'll just feed all three of those things in, and you can ask the computer to write and sing lyrics over the music you've already played. It will be able to do the job for you in your
You know what's
style.
crazy? I went on AI and I said, write a song about love in the 21st century. I did it. It was pretty good.
Was it pretty good?
It was pretty good. I was just like, what? I'm
Yeah.
like, are you kidding me, dude? And they were like, I'm just like, dude, you can write so. AI is a game changer, bro. AI
Yeah.
is a game changer. It's a game changer, dude.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, but no, I can't even say that, dude, because it's got that human quality where it. I mean, uh, that's some scary stuff, dude.
It is. It is. I think it's going to get a little bit less scary as it evolves and we become more integrated into the finer tuning, tweaking aspect of it. As it stands right now, there was a little study done by a guy who's an expert in AI about how most, like, he was doing a research on the visual stuff, you know, like the images people pump out. The vast majority of them, like the very vast majority of them, are made with only a 13-word prompt, which isn't a lot, which kind of makes them even less than a collaborator and more of a commissioner. They're commissioning this tool to make a piece of art.
Mhm.
Once you start tweaking the knobs a little bit deeper, once you get integrated into the inner workings of the machine or the tool, you become more of a collaborator. And then once you like start doing things like innovating and actually developing the language aspects of it, or at least deeper tweakings of the language aspect of it, then you become more like the artist who, you know, was personally involved in developing the tools or the techniques with the tools. So yeah, once it gets a little more mature and we start developing like language type tools to help us tweak the knobs a little bit more, we'll become more like artists and less like novelty acts who are just pumping out, letting it pump out, telling it to pump out stuff. It'll be more like us pumping out stuff with its help. That's when it's going to become less scary and more just like fulfilling and mind blowing in my opinion. I think that's the way it's going to go.
The next level of
But
art artistry,
yep,
the artistic endeavor of AI or built with AI.
yep,
Yeah, that's going to be, yeah, because I mean, you know, yeah, I just want to write good music, dude. I just want to write really, really, really great music. That's all I want to do. Still,
yeah,
that's it. I mean, as Jackson Brown once said, in '69 I was 21 and all the world I owned. I mean, imagine that being 29 or 21 years old in 1969, dude.
God, yeah,
I mean, Woodstock, Age of Aquarius. It was, dude. I mean, yeah, that's my boy, dude. I mean, Linda Paloma, Before the Deluge. Every album he basically put out, his first four albums, was just, just like I'm walking down this highway, down by this highway sign. He's just Jackson Brown. Love that guy, dude. But I
yeah,
mean, growing up, listening to you know, a lot of like, believe it or not, dude, I listened to a lot of bluegrass when I was a kid, on top of jazz. Because my dad listened to all that stuff. He listened to Earl Scruggs and Lester Flatt, and he listened to Jimmy Smith. And it's just like, you know, he listened to Buck Owens and Waylon Jennings, but he also listened to Cannonball Adderley, and like I said, like my favorite album in the world is it Blue by Miles Davis.
hmm
Yeah, dude. I mean, like, where did that come from? You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like, where? What were you? What really made you write that? Who? How?
yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
His brain was an antenna, and the thing that we call, yep, exactly, exactly.
Jesus, dude. Yeah, just like I mean, dude. Just like what? Dude, the first time
Yeah,
I heard that, I like fell out of my chair. It was like I think I must have been like 6 years old or something like that. My dad put it on the record player.
wow,
It's like, you got to be kidding me, dude.
yeah,
And I would just sit there for hours and hours and hours and just listen to it over and over and over.
yep.
Just crazy, man, how that works out. But I'm never gonna stop. So
No, I expect you won't. I don't think there's any part of you that could, even if you tried to force yourself. I don't think
yeah,
that that would work.
that's not gonna happen. That's just you either, dude. I mean, you've got all your art on the wall behind you.
Yeah, I'm currently uh, watching a. I've been watching for like months and months and months and months and months, probably more like a year or so. Brandon Sanderson videos. He's a writer, a fantasy author. Watching his videos, his lectures at BYU to try to fine tune my writing capabilities so I can the actual goal, like the goal, I guess, what I'm getting more and more excited about writing like a fantasy novel. I've got a lot of the outline kind of hashed out. I'm working on characters and stuff now, but the reason I started this whole thing was not actually to write a fantasy novel. It was so I could create an outline for a comic. I
Mm,
wanted to create like an outline for a plot so that I had a place to take the comic, and I knew that the plot would help me develop some of the characters, so then I could, more easily develop the actual drawings. So then I had solid characters, and I could do kind of emotive panels first, so that I understood, the way they respond to different
dude,
emotions. But yeah,
that
like there's
book though, dude,
writing in
it
my
could be
blood.
that could be sick. That could be, dude. No, because dude, I mean, dude, come on. I mean, when you look, when you have a talent, I mean, you got to do something with it. You got it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's frustrating how the research has to come first. I mean, you took decades and decades to
Decades.
hone your craft, and you changed it, as you evolved, or as you learned more and more, you evolved. And that's the only frustrating part about being a creative, is
Yeah,
that you wish you could just produce it now, like the best. You can produce something now, but you wish you could just create the best of what you imagine the second you want to. Just will it into being. But it takes a lot of research and a lot of trial and error, and just developing, honing your craft. But it's worth it. You get these little, innovations and then revelations, and it changes your soul. Like you get flooded with like dopamine or serotonin or both or whatever, just like the feel good stuff,
mm,
and it solidifies in your brain all the stuff you just learned, and the stuff that you just like reinvented inside of yourself, and it pushes you forward more, and you just become a better and better artist. And that's the most amazing part about being an artist, is that you get to change this machine inside of you and develop it and make it better, and then prove to the world and give the world a gift, of this stuff that you developed, and it changes the world if you're lucky. Um, that's a blessing. I hate to use that word because I'm not very religious, but
but
it
it's the
really is.
truth.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
could all be blessed in the most righteous way.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's one thing to be religious. It's another thing to be righteous.
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, well, God says, well, I'm like, okay, so does Allah, so does Buddha.
Right,
Who do you
right.
pray to? Who's your God? You know what I mean? God doesn't even have a name. You know,
Yeah,
they just call him God. If you're
yeah.
talking about Jesus, then that's another thing.
Right,
You know
right.
what I mean? But well, they call him Yah. Was it Yahweh?
Yahweh, Yeshua. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
he too had different names.
Yeah. So, but but yeah, this has been interesting. We're gonna have to
Yeah.
do another one of these.
Good. Yeah, I really enjoy the music related stuff. I mean, I think that as we develop more of our podcast tendencies, like talents, I guess, uh, I think we're relaxing into a mode where we talk about what we know. We use more of our life experience and really core personalities uh, to direct the conversation, and I'm enjoying what's happening. So
Yeah. Ditto. Ditto.
I
Yeah.
hope I hope that the anybody watching this is enjoying it too.
Yeah. No. And it's just gonna be a matter of like you know just persevering.
Yeah.
We got to do this every week for the next 2 years.
Yeah, just keep checking in
Yeah.
and seeing what you want to talk about next.
Yeah.
Well, good. Okay. Well, it's getting dark here, and I'm gonna spend some time with the wife before we go to bed. And I really appreciate you talking to me last night, and today during the podcast. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Peace, love, and happiness, dude.
All right. I'll see you inside inside this
Inside the box. Yeah.
yep. All right. See you soon.